So my husband had a sudden cardiac arrest. I could hear the ambulance coming and I was just screaming. They used the defibrillator. We lost him like 3 times. I watched life come and go.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Trauma is quite an insidious thing that gets locked away in the brain that takes a long time to heal from. So 20 minutes of Vedic meditation is equivalent to 3 hours of sleep. I was very focused on the finances, and I think you really can't shy away from that as a creative. What I have learnt about social media and the connection between marketing and leads and the conversion process, particularly with architecture, it's a slow burn.
Yeah, long runway.
Long runway. This is not happening in a week. This is like
a bit like podcasting, Carla. It's a long runway. Welcome back to Build Beautiful. Today's episode is different. And because it's different, I'm not going to open with my usual scripted introduction. Sometimes there are stories so raw, so human, so powerful that words feel too small to hold them. This is one of those stories. Carla Middleton, founder and director of Carla Middleton Architecture, is someone I deeply admire. Her courage, her honesty, and the life she's cultivated, not just as an architect, but as a mother, a wife, and a woman. Her story deserves space to unfold in its own time with her own words. So today, I'm simply holding space. I hope you'll listen closely, with softness and with presence. This episode may move you. It may even change you. Here's my conversation with Carla. Carla.
Oh, Linda.
Welcome.
Are you going to make me cry already?
No tears yet. Thank you so much for joining me. I feel so honoured, really, that you would trust me, trust this platform that I'm trying to create and the community that is slowly building around Build Beautiful. I was so moved when we spoke last week. And honestly, I wrote about 5 different scripts, like my intros, which I normally do. And then I just had a light bulb moment. I thought, no, I can't. There are no words actually that I could put to this story that you're about to share. And I thought, no, my job is really just to create the space for you to tell your beautiful, heart-wrenching but super inspiring story, and then all of the value and the lessons that have come from that experience from you. So let's set the scene.
Thanks, Linda.
Let's set the scene. Can you take me, we're going to jump straight into it,
okay.
But can you take me back to that moment 5 years ago? What do you most remember from that moment? I know this is not going to be easy, but I think it's an important part of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I touched on earlier, is I'm really open about this story and I want to share and be vulnerable in not to have a pity party and to have people feel sorry or kind of talk about it in that framework, but to also just help others. And hopefully by sharing this, other people can take little snippets of my story, how I've overcome it, and hopefully also work on their business and themselves. So I hope it helps others. So 5 years ago, my husband it was in the middle of COVID. We were all kind of at home. I had 2 little babies. Anna was, I think, maybe 3.5 and Toby was only 1. I can't quite remember whether it was full lockdown or not, but my husband was like, I'm just going to do a workout. He got up a few times, the baby in the night. I'm not feeling great. Got a few cold and flu symptoms. I'm just going to do a workout on the back deck. And I was like, okay, cool. So went and put the baby down for a sleep, came downstairs and made myself a coffee and kind of plonked myself on the couch and looked out on the back deck. And I could see Chris, he'd had the app set up and all these weights, but he was laying down and he was doing what I kind of thought was a hip flexor. His face turned away from me. And I was just looking out and I was like, he's been kind of quite stationary there for a while. I'll just go out and have a check on him. And I rolled him over and yeah, he wasn't in a very good way at all. He was blue and white. He was kind of gasping for air. So I thought maybe he was having a seizure. I kind of picked him up. I was like, oh no, he's really not breathing right now. So I quickly laid him down. My daughter at the time, she kind of ran out and was screaming and also didn't know what to do. So I kind of looked to her and I said, quick, go get mummy's phone. And she was 3, right? She didn't know. So I quite strategically and methodically laid him down and ran to get my phone and came back outside, and I was shaking so much and screaming at that point. And I called 000 and happened to hang up on them because I was shaking so much, but got onto them and then just immediately went into action of doing CPR. So my husband had a sudden cardiac arrest. The difference between a sudden cardiac arrest and a heart attack is it's sudden. It's not with the plumbing of the heart. It's a cardiac. It's the electricity of the heart. So it usually happens to elite athletes, as my husband likes to recall. And so it's just sudden and the heart just stops. And so, I went straight into action. I had no training whatsoever in CPR. I'd done like a little kids CPR course, when your kids are born. I'd watched a bit of Bondi Rescue because my girlfriend was on it, and I just saw them just get right in there and just start on compressions. And so, I had 000 on the line counting with me, and I just hammered him. I just went in so deep and so hard with compressions, and his body was like flipping up and down. That's how hard I went. And I've never done this before, Linda. Like, I don't know where this came from.
That strength, fight or flight.
Absolute fight or flight. Like, I really, if someone had asked me days before, would you fight or flight, I thought I would have been in the flight category.
Yeah.
But man, you hear stories of people with their loved ones, they lift bridges and they do wild things. So
I've got goosebumps from head to toe, by the way, right now. I mean, I heard it over the phone last week, but not going to swear, but just being in this space, I can feel the electricity of that situation, just hearing you talk about it.
Yeah. And so luckily I had a beautiful neighbour who I nicknamed Superman jump over the back fence, and I did compressions for about 10 minutes and he helped me. And probably towards the end, I think it was about the 12, we've had analysed the ambulance, what felt like 3 hours of my life, and I could hear the ambulance coming down. We lived in Tamarama at the time. I could hear it coming down like Birrell Street, like through Waverley. I could hear the ambulance coming and I was just screaming for help. And they came through very calmly and took over like absolute professionals. And he had 10 people working on him, and they used the defibrillator. We lost him like 3 times. I watched life come and go. Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about that, because I can't even begin to imagine the fear,
terrifying.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what happens afterwards, but to be like, people talk about spirits, and I watched the life come and go from him that day.
Get your tissue, grab a tissue.
And it was, whilst terrifying, now in reflection, I have learnt so much. But anyway, so they used the defibrillator 3 times and we got him back and they stabilised him and quickly got him in to an ambulance, in which, it was really touch and go. There's lots of trauma in around my daughter, not being able to tend to her and be there for her in that moment while she was terrified. But I was laser sharp. I could hear her crying in the background and terrified. And she laid a blanket down on his feet and kind of got her little Elsa chair and sat next to me, watching me do all of this. Our neighbours wrapped her up and my whole family kind of removed her very quickly and made sure she was okay. But it was really touch and go for a long time there for that whole day. So it happened about 9:30 in the morning, and he got into an ambulance. I checked on Anna and told her, basically lied to her and said, Daddy's alive, it's going to be okay, and ran off and just followed him in the ambulance. We got to the emergency room and they didn't know what it was at that time. Like, we didn't know it was a cardiac arrest. It could have been a bleed, an aneurysm, all sorts of things. So they put him in a coma and ran him in and out of tests, and they couldn't find anything. So they assumed it was a cardiac arrest. And everyone throughout that day kept grabbing my arm and just being in awe of what I had done. And I still really struggle to take it in. Like doctors and nurses that we talk to, even in these days, they're just like the percentages of survival from a sudden cardiac arrest in hospital with a defibrillator with trained professionals is sometimes like around 1%. So I was an untrained professional out of hospital. And we had a lot of just magic that day. You know, I think I got to him really quickly. We had an amazing paramedic team that got to him really quickly. He had amazing care at Prince of Wales. And, yeah, he was in a coma until that evening and he came out of it. And we're just, so lucky he's alive. We're just...
Do you believe in miracles?
There is an element that I know something in its higher power was assisting us that day. But there was a lot of really amazing action that was taken too, right? By me jumping on, there was just layer after layer of amazing professionals that were in place that just fell into place. So, I don't know. It feels possible that it was a miracle, but it's hard to identify and kind of
articulate.
Connect. Yeah.
How did your life change in that moment? Because I imagine everything changed in that moment.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember everyone working on him on the back deck and just looking around the house. My instant thought was, oh, my God, I'm a single mum with 2 kids. How am I going to do all of this? How am I going to take care of this life? I was terrified, and I kind of went into what I would like to talk about a bit more is this kind of what felt like I had to zip up this suit and be this warrior, right? And I had to hold everything together. And that is a strength that I'm proud of, but not something that I need to still have, right? Just letting that go sometimes is really important. In the evening at the ICU, the cardiologist came up to me and kind of that same conversation in awe of what had happened and how lucky we are. And one of the issues is my husband's a pilot. So with this and the cardiac arrest and then later now he has a defibrillator permanently fitted, he can't fly anymore. So the cardiologist said in a terrible bedside manner, you know, I'm sorry, but your husband will never fly again, which I knew was going to be probably the hardest conversation I would have to have with him. But he also said this is going to be the greatest gift. And I wanted to pick him up and throw him across the room. And I was like, this is not a gift. This is by far the worst thing that's ever happened to me. How can you say that to somebody that is just in this moment? But
what do you think he meant by that?
We have something in such an early stage of our life. I talk about my husband, my kids, all of our extended family and friends that have heard this story, such an appreciation for life, such a respect for the fragility that is life and that everything can change in a moment. We don't have it under control. Well, you know, what's that famous story? You know, you think you've got it under control and God laughs at you.
That's right.
You've got a plan.
You plan, God laughs.
Yeah. I truly believe that. And so all we've got is the now. We don't have yesterday and we certainly don't have tomorrow.
Tomorrow is not promised.
Tomorrow is not promised. And in that moment I learnt that in an hour is not promised. And there were so many days where I played over in my head what I would have done if he didn't. You know, there was such a moment where if he didn't make it, what that would have meant. And no amount of money, no amount of brute force, nothing in life can ever bring someone back. That's done and they're gone and there's nothing you can do about it. And I often look at Steve Jobs, like what a prolific man that achieved so much. The poor man got cancer, no amount of, like he was one of the wealthiest, no amount of money could ever bring his life back.
That's right.
So I have so much respect for life and what is capable in it and what you can do with it. And so that's my greatest lesson that I've learned from this.
Okay, so 24 hours in, he survives. What does the next few months look like? How do you navigate almost losing your husband, the trauma that comes from that moment of saving his life, your children's trauma? Can you describe what that next couple of months looks like for you?
Yeah, they were really tricky. I had, at the time, the practice was quite small, so I was a sole practitioner. So I put all work on a pause, and Chris had a lot of recovery to go through. He was in hospital for over a month. There was, lots of discussions. He had to have surgery to have the defibrillator. So there was lots of care and recovery. We were just surrounded by love and care. My parents moved in, took care of the kids. I was at the hospital every day. Something that I would like to touch on, I was at the hospital with my laptop working. Looking back now, I know that was just a strategy to consume the time, right? I don't think I was actually doing any good work, but
coping mechanism.
It was a coping mechanism without a doubt. And very quickly after the cardiac arrest, I went into a place of I'm the primary carer, I'm the primary provider. My husband had always been, we've talked about it before, the financial provider. There was never a conversation in our marriage that, one of us was going to be the main person that did their job. We both respected each other's careers greatly, but just when you have small kids and the logistics and what kind of lays out in front of you, you just kind of go, well, that makes sense that you work full-time and I try and do part-time while juggling the kids.
Hard to be part-time pilot if you're,
yes,
that's the trajectory of your career. So I get.
Yeah, there was a logistical element there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So in that moment, I don't know if it was a trauma response or an aspirational side to me, but I definitely went into, I have to take care of my family. I want Chris to recover. I want him to rest and figure out what his life looks like. And that meant that my work and my revenue stream was highly important. And I put my head down for the next probably, 3 to 4 years, and worked my little butt off to make sure that I could support Chris and the family financially. The first few months were like anything, and you surrounded by all the love and support, and then it kind of tapers off and all the hard work really does start to kick in within yourself when you are surviving and going through something. And I was pretty quick to put in action all the things that, you have to do for yourself. I think you can go two ways in surviving with trauma or health issues, is you can kind of sit there and wallow in self-pity and not do anything about it. But we quickly moved into action. I went and sought the best trauma therapist. I had a clinical psychologist work on my trauma. My husband was in therapy. The kids, we were monitoring them closely. And we just, had GPs, everyone around us just getting the best advice we could to move through it.
Did you at any point feel like you wanted to give up in that? Did the trauma ever feel so great that you just thought, I'm going to live in a dark hole and I can't get out of it?
Probably a few years after
So not immediately after?
Not immediately. I just sprang straight into action. I think I was in fight or flight for a good 2 years, really. Trauma is quite an insidious thing that gets locked away in the brain that takes a long time to heal from. So specifically in relation to trauma therapy, they go back and relive. So it's filed into a section in your brain, and you have to go and relive it and rewrite it so that all the triggers that come up aren't triggering you constantly to go back into fight or flight. That, I had to do quite a lot of work around holding my daughter and reliving that moment that I could go and grab her and tell her it's okay, Daddy's going to be okay, because that was really traumatic for me. You want to protect your kids they should never see that, never. And as a mother, I felt so guilty that I couldn't tend to her. And so I've had to do a lot of work out of the fact that I couldn't tend to her that day, but I gave her a father for the rest of her life.
There's a lot of forgiveness you need to give yourself here. Yeah. But I guess it's easy to say that theoretically, right? But the brain is a very powerful thing. And so I imagine that it plays tricks on you.
Absolutely.
Right? And so you focus on the thing that you didn't do in that moment instead of focusing on the thing that you did do, which is save save a life.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's extraordinary. It's a lot. It's beautiful. It's heart-achingly beautiful almost. Let's talk about burnout, because you said the first 2 years you were in full fight or flight around the business because you became the primary breadwinner for the family. Can you take me through what that looks like? What did that look like for you in that 2 years? Like, I'm talking in the business, daily life, clients, draw the whole picture for me.
Well, as everyone in the industry will recall, during COVID, everyone was so busy.
Yes.
Right? Everyone was
It's a lovely and stressful time.
So I was I don't know if I was a sole practitioner. Oh, yes, I was. But I was just getting flooded with inquiries, which was so confidence boosting and lovely. And so before I knew it, I had more work than I could do on my own. So I started to grow the team and I started to hire graduates. And I got a studio quite quickly and started to get out of the house and build the business. So what that looked like was taking on every project that came through the door, hiring staff that required a lot from me. That was, I was mentoring a lot. I was coming home and being a mother for really small children up during the night, sickness. I was taking care of my husband, who was really wobbly and unclear about his purpose and his life and his future, and the confidence within his body to know that he was healthy and that he could go for a walk around the block. So I was coaching and helping and supporting him. And I was also healing my own trauma. We had two very different things that happened that day. In his world, he went to sleep and then woke up and couldn't do what he loves to do and got something ripped from him. And I had a very scary experience, but also experience where I learnt about the fragility of life. Like, I learnt about life. So for years now, we have on the day of the anniversary, we get a candle and we celebrate his birthday from the 1, 2, 3, and we celebrate life. And it's really, that's really exciting for Chris. But then I kind of revert back into my trauma and, and really struggle with that day. So
do you, I'm going to ask an odd question maybe, but is there any resentment that you got the fear end of the stick? Because he went to sleep and he just didn't know what was happening, right? He was in a coma for most of that day.
Yeah.
But is there a part of you? I don't know.
No, it's a great question, and it's something that we have had to talk about a lot. I wouldn't say there's resentment, because
that might be a strong word.
But there's a conflict.
Yeah.
There's a conflict of what we're processing because we have two separate stories.
Yeah.
Either one of us haven't won from it.
No, of course not.
But two of us have had to respect each other's situation and give it the time and the space to talk about and not try and compete with it, right? And not be like, well, that day this happened to me, well, that happened this day, this happened to me.
Yes, and it's not a one-upsmanship. Yeah. My experience was worse than yours.
Yeah,
I almost lost my life, but I saved your life. I can imagine that conversation. No, I win. No, you win.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. So, no, I wouldn't say there's resentment. There's just so much respect. There has been, I would say, a processing of around the life piece that we've had to do quite a lot of conversations about, because I have experienced witnessing, my greatest love leave, and then, that's what I processed, right? And then to make sure the gratefulness and the gratitude is still there for him is really hard, because he lost a lot. And so he, without a doubt, 90% of the time, has moments where we just got back from Greece and he just sits there, swimming in the Mediterranean, and he just turns to me and says, thank you, He understands.
I'm here because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I'm watching these kids have this life because of you.
I'm just in awe of you, honestly. No question I'm going to ask today is going to do justice for how amazing I think you are, and this story. Okay, let's go back.
Let's wipe the tears.
Yeah, let's wipe the tears. Let's have a moment. I want to go back to those first 2 years. I'm a blubbering mess myself. I'm terrible. I want to go back to those early years and the business. So you're building it, you're growing it. At what point do you stop it's been 5 years. At what point do you stop and go, life has to look different. The business has to look different. Was there a specific moment, or was it a build-up of moments?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I do remember vividly, probably about the 3rd year mark, where we were on a holiday and I had made a very conscious effort to switch off, and I was talking to someone by the pool and I said, do you know what? This is the first holiday I've had in 3 years that I've actually switched off, because when you got kids and school holidays, we would go away, but I would be there on the laptop. I would be working late till night. I was always going 1,000 miles an hour. And there were a few, my mum she would always say, health is wealth, Carla, health is wealth. She would always kind of gently try and give me a nudge and say, I think you're working too hard and this is too much on you. Chris would kind of mention it, because I would find that I would be going 1,010% during the week from Monday to Friday. And then I would sleep all weekend. I was sleeping a lot. I was trying to recover and recoup, and I wouldn't say that I had an alcohol problem, but on Friday nights I was really looking for a glass of wine, with a girlfriend, and to just let it, I was overstimulated. My nervous system was shot. I was just on go, go, go. I was just do. And then I would just crash and burn on the weekend and then pick it back up again. And I just felt like I was living on coffee. I would then go for a glass of wine on a Friday night and try and come down off it. It just didn't feel like I could do this for a long period of time. And the problem is, I bloody love architecture. I'm obsessed with it.
I know you are.
I love it. Yeah. So it wasn't like I was doing work that was painful or that I didn't like it and that was really hard. There's hard things to doing business and having clients that aren't aligned to you and having difficult conversations and resolving difficult things on site. But I was watching something grow and do amazingly and build momentum that was really satisfying and confidence boosting.
And that's a gift.
Yeah, that was a really amazing experience. But at the same time, I could see, this is not sustainable for a long period of time. How am I going to break this, or what am I going to do? I was supporting there was all these things that I was doing, tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
But within me, I was burnt out, and I was really worried because I had that layer of life is fragile and that value that I had, and I wasn't living up to that. I was destroying myself in the process.
Yeah.
How long can I do this before I'm going to actually just get cancer or get sick or something, So I had to change and I had to do something about it, which upon reflection and seeing what I did that day for Chris, it is very much a thing that I do when I'm facing a problem. I just move straight into action. I don't sit very long in kind of wallowing in a problem. I'm quite quick to I would just truly believe, same with architecture and design, every problem has a solution, but you just have to action it and find that right solution. So at that point, I'd always prioritize movement and health and eating well. I put on a lot of weight. I felt really puffy. My nervous system was shot. I was carrying a lot of fluid. I felt like my whole body was inflamed. And in a few instances, I don't know, I kind of feel like I get hit up with 3 threads, and maybe I saw it on Instagram, I heard a podcast, and meditation just came to me. It came in 3 really solid messages. A meditation teacher called Tim Brown, who we lost a few years ago, he taught me to meditate in Paddington. It is a Vedic meditation practice where you get given a mantra and you sit for 20 minutes twice a day, and you have to pay money to the teacher to give you this particular mantra that is part of your kind of physiological makeup.
Right. So it's very specific to you.
Very specific to you. And it's quite a commitment. There was the whole weekend, which, you know, I had to take away from my kids, and I was quite dogmatic in that I needed to do this. I didn't know why, but I had some form of knowing that I needed this. And so I remember Tim teaching us how to do it as a group for the first time, and I just burst into tears. I just was like, this is what I've needed. Like, just that first meditation, I could feel my nervous system, feel like I got more in touch with myself. I got deep rest. So 20 minutes of Vedic meditation is equivalent to 3 hours of sleep. Wow. So it is, you go into such a deep place of rest that's been 2 years of practice, in which case I've had beautiful guiding hands from Juliet Hudson, she's in Paddington, and Nico Plowman, some really amazing leaders in their field. I meditate twice a day, and I also go on what we call rounding retreats. So we go for a few nights away, and you basically meditate and do some really basic yoga, asanas for 2 or 3 days, and you really just knock away at that nervous system, that fight or flight. You get really deep. You just I just finished a rounding retreat a few months ago, and I joked because I was just laying on a concrete floor. Like, you think you need pillows and doonas and all of this, and I would just pass out. I was so deeply exhausted. And you just go into all this rest, and you remove yourself from caffeine and toxins and stimulation. And it's, equivalent to 6 months worth of really good meditation practice. So so it's quite different.
Vedic meditation or transcendental meditation is quite different to other types of meditation.
Yeah. It's as I kind of moved into the action side of things, I did a lot of research, and there's a lot of science that shows that Vedic and Transcendental meditation has a significant impact on the brain, and how you process the world around you, and how you also trauma, like that came up during my meditation and the intense rounding retreats. Your trauma really comes up to the surface, and you have to face a lot of these stuff and process it and let it get released from the body. So it feels a bit woo-woo. I'm not entirely all woo-woo, but meditation is one tool in my toolkit that I found had a great impact on my processing, and continue to every day. Helps me really regulate my emotions, my stress, my ability, like Tim used to talk about it, it's called the conscious cinema. So when you meditate, before you meditate, it's like you're going to that Top Gun cinema, and you're right in the front row, and the life is happening right in front of you, and it's boom, 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 boom. And you start to meditate, and you are sitting in the back row, so you can see life. You're not disengaged from life, but you don't take it on. It's not affecting your nervous system anymore. Yeah. And so it is really a profound practice that really helps me obviously process all the trauma, but in practice of architecture,
That's my next question.
It's just one of the greatest tools to be able to take on the highs and lows of business, give great respect and perspective and space between clients. We get so close to our clients, but oftentimes this is a really stressful process for them, and it's a lot of money. And
it's an enormous responsibility on us as well. And then you're guiding them through it. So you have to be in a good place. Your cup has to be full.
Absolutely.
To be able to guide them on that process.
And you have to be really responsible and really professional and give them incredible guidance. So a client jokes to me that, I've been pushing her up Mount Everest.
It's a good analogy.
The past few months. You have to be the one that leads the train. You're the conductor of the orchestra, and you really need to be well composed within yourself to be able to give really solid, good advice for our clients. So, yeah, that's meditation.
Love that. Wow. I mean, I've tried to meditate over the years. I'm terrible. I can't quiet my brain. So you might have to give me some pointers, I think.
No, it's a common thing that lots of people say. I don't think I'd be very good at that. And the great thing about a practice is it's practicing every day.
Yeah.
No one's got it sorted. It's a bit like the practice of architecture. No one has a rule book and knows how to do it. It's that you show up, you're committed to it, you do your best. And, oftentimes I might wiggle, I can't sit still, but something's coming up, something I need to think about. And you'd be amazed, you know how like a working mother, you have 1,000 things to do.
Million tabs open.
Yeah. And I'd be surprised if I sit there, the one thing that I've either forgotten about will pop up at the end of my meditation and I'll be like, great, I need to do that. Yeah. There's like this deep knowing and intuition that I think meditation gives to everyone, but particularly to women. Like our intuition is our superpower.
Okay, I was going to jump onto the business stuff, but let's talk about intuition for a moment. Because, I know you're woo-woo but not woo-woo. And a lot of us are like that because I think we don't want to admit that actually I've come to realise later in my life that my intuition is my number one barometer on where to travel in this life. And it's taken years to accept that actually is my strongest superpower. So talk to me about intuition, because I imagine like before the incident, the cardiac arrest, you probably had it but didn't even tap into it. So
well, I think it was there because to think that I saw Chris, right? And I was quick to action and I was in the vicinity. Like so many people were like, you could have been out, you could have popped out, you could have been in the shower. Like there was a knowing that I needed to be around that day. So I believe it's there, but I think this world distracts us and tricks women into believing that they need to be doing so many other things rather than just really sitting and listening.
And trusting.
Yeah, there's a deep, deep knowing. It's part of the Vedic practice is that sometimes before you meditate, you look down at your fingernails and you say, okay, well, they're growing, but I haven't instructed my fingernails to grow. I haven't done anything to tell it to grow. We birthed children. We didn't tell our body to grow that aorta or that section of the baby's brain. There's a deep natural knowing within the female body. And meditation, and there's some, ocean swimming and some other sections of my life that drop away all the overstimulation and allow me to really deeply connect in that knowing and listen to that. You need to carve out time to check in with it, and especially with creatives.
So important. Like
intuition comes from the hand. It's, our brain can think, okay, well, that space needs to go there, that needs to move here, I need to do this. But there's so much to the hand and the mind that's quite intuitive, and then you need to let that flow. Yeah. And then if you're like busying yourself and distracting, that connection gets broken.
The hand and the heart.
The hand and the heart.
Yeah, they're connected. Oh, I love that. All right. We're going to move into the business of architecture.
Yes.
Well, the architecture of business, either way.
Okay.
Because you have so much value and knowledge. There is so much there. I honestly, we could do a whole segment just on the business of architecture. So you told me a story when you were at uni. You were told by a lecturer, don't ever open your own practice. You'll never make any money. Let's debunk that. I want to go through and debunk that whole myth, that whole story. Because you have built a very successful practice. So take me through. Where does it all start for you? Or where did it start for you in terms of building this as a financially successful, stable business? Because that is the elusive question that time and time again in every conversation, whether it's a designer, a creative, an architect, everyone's trying to build a sustainable, successful business that sustains their life. And I mean, how many conversations have we had over the years with the indie group that we're part of and the struggles that people have to do this. So this is value moment.
Well, I've learnt so much and I'm so happy to share. I think obviously with being the situation that we went through and me being the primary earner, I was very focused on the finances. And I think you really can't shy away from that as a creative. Like, we are naturally creative. That comes as a really strong intuitive skill of ours. And so I lent into the aspects that may bore you, may not be fun, may not be the creative side. And you really need to nut that out and really tend to that. And so I got very early on a forecasting document that I kind of created myself in Excel, and I just had it broken down into each month's. I looked at which projects I had, what I could achieve in that month, how much revenue that would bring in, and I just planned it out. So every time a new project came in, being a sole practitioner, I could be like, I'm only starting it on this month, and I would plan it out. I would know that the certain months where I'd have to go really hard to keep that job, because some people call you, they want to start tomorrow, otherwise you're going to miss out on the job. And you have to work long hours. You have to do that really hard work to begin with to build it up. I think that's also one of the most important things. I have grit, I have hard work, and I have ethics, right? And you have to want it. And that didn't come hard for me because I'm so passionate about architecture, and I respect that a lot of people might not have that. That's okay. Like, you can go and have a great career in architecture and earn really good money and do really well without creating a practice. But I've had that determination from the day I studied architecture. I wanted to start my own practice.
So that's one of my questions. So you always knew you wanted to have your own practice. Do you think your husband's cardiac arrest, do you think it changed the way you looked at building a practice? I guess my question is, would you have built this type of practice if it weren't for that moment?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I was already on that trajectory of going there, but I think it would have been a lot slower because I would have had to juggle it part-time with kids.
Around your husband's career.
So with Chris's cardiac arrest, he didn't work for 5 years, and he was the primary carer of the kids, which allowed me to be full force at work. He went and studied and did some things which I highly respect whilst juggling 2 kids and so small. So it wasn't easy on his side, but it would have been, I would have built it because I have that passion for architecture and business, but it would have been a lot slower of a trajectory. And I wonder as well, because I went in full time and had the flexibility of, not having to rush home to my babies. They were with their dad. I could stay late. I could, as a mother, peel away that sense of responsibility that so many women have to carry, right? Is that juggle and doing 2 things at once. It's just too hard.
So hard.
It's so hard. So I don't think I would have had I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I know I definitely would have had a business. But whether or not I would have been able to give it that 5 years of my full attention without
to grow it and to build it,
to having to feel like I could have to do 2 jobs at the same time, like so many women have to do. It's impossible.
It's impossible. Well, I mean, it's possible, but something's got to give, right? And so, either that's your health or joy, like something. You just can't, you can have everything, just not all at once, I think is what the saying is. Okay, so we're going to start with, you talked about finances. Can we just stay there for a moment? Because you also, one of your notes is get a good accountant. So you've created this forecasting spreadsheet. I have the same thing. Love it.
I'm obsessed with it. I look at it every day. Every day. And I think, so just going back to that, I started that as a sole practitioner, and then I knew I had enough work coming in, so I knew that I could get a graduate. I started to know that I could see enough cash flow in the business. I could get a studio, pay rent, and you just slowly build on that as you go and you watch the numbers. Look, by all means, I've had dips and highs and lows in business that is scary and not fun, but it only gives you more grit and determination to fill those holes, catch it earlier, learn from it. So you have to, with business and with practicing architecture, you need to be at least 3 to 4 months in advance of enough work. I have the privilege now of having over 12 months worth of work that I've worked really hard to give us that stability as a practice. But by all means, like, things drop, projects go on pause.
Yeah.
They move around, so you have to be very flexible and dynamic. And you also need to be hustling all the time.
What does that look like? Can you define that for me? Because a lot of people go, they sit around going, I've got no work or no calls, no one's calling. But I'm like, but you got to create that. You've got to plant the seeds. You have to be having the conversation. So what does that look like for you?
For me, and this is also touched on, your reference to an accountant. So I learned from the very first stage is you surround yourself with the best people in their field of profession, right? I'm expecting clients to come to me for architecture and engage me as the top professional. I need to do the same when it comes to architecture, to accounting, marketing, HR, business coaching, you name it.
Yeah.
To begin with, I couldn't afford it all. I can run through what I've got now that is my kind of core team.
I'd love to hear that.
But accounting was the first one that I invested in. I invested in processing, so a really good forecasting document and invoicing and all of that kind of financial side you need to get set up.
Yeah.
And in terms of going back to your question about the hustle and making sure that workflow, I think marketing is so important. Marketing and communicating, being able to communicate your value in the industry. What do we do and how do we bring value to our clients? And also how do we communicate to clients that are considering using an architect and what that looks like and how that looks like and what value in the end does that bring them? We're very much in exchange society. So if I'm going into the dream clients are typically well-educated in architecture, arts, the creative side. They understand it. They get it. They are the dream client. But a lot of people are trying to understand it and they really want to understand, okay, well, I pay you this amount of money in exchange. What do I get as a service for that? And trying to debunk that in our social media, Instagram is very much a communication tool. I learned very early on that there's two kind of Instagram accounts. There's the architects, the Instagram for other architects, and that's all those really beautiful little construction details, the pretty images, this detail, that detail. Yes, some clients are interested in that, but the majority aren't. So our Instagram, I hired very early on a marketing team that specialise in all of that and crafting our tone of voice, crafting our messaging and trying to really tap into our market and try and communicate our value and what we bring to a project.
I love that because, marketing is love marketing. It's my background. But my question to you in terms of the marketing strategy or employing the marketing agency, did you see a direct shift or a direct response from that action and that investment into your business? Did that result directly into increased turnover?
Yes, but it has been a journey because we've had different messages. So marketing and social media is very complex, far more complex than I understand. We had a post recently last weekend that just went viral. It was a before and after post that the team put together. And I would never have thought that would be something that just took off. And apparently the algorithm that the marketing team tried to explain it to me kind of got in that square, and then just everyone was following it. It just went viral.
This is on Instagram?
Yeah. And so some posts that I thought were really well crafted and that would lead to leads instantly didn't. And some, like I said last weekend, went viral. But what I have learnt about social media and the connection between marketing and leads and the conversion process, because I've done a lot of training in that too, is that particularly with architecture, it's a slow burn.
Yeah, long runway.
This is not happening in a week. This is like
a bit like podcasting, Carla. It's a long runway.
People are following us for years and they are watching what we do. They're watching our consistency. They're watching how I've built the practice. We show up. We've got a presence, quality, repeated work. And
it's brand equity. You're building brand equity, and it's very hard to put a dollar figure on that, actually. It's hard. So unless what you're putting out has a direct call to action. It's very hard to measure. It's a metric that's almost impossible to measure.
It really is. And sometimes
but necessary.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so flattering to hear with new inquiries. I've been watching you for years. We've been trying to buy a property. We finally found a property, and we've been watching you, and we've known you've been our architect for a long period of time. We want to work with you. So that's like, all that hard work of marketing is paid off.
And that money. But I mean, that's the thing with architecture and design. So you can be in a relationship with a potential client that you don't even know for a long time, but their timing has to be right. So you're waiting for a lot of things, a lot of pieces of the puzzle to come together. So marketing's one part. Is there anything else you do as far as business development? Are you having, do you build relationships with real estate agents or builders? Does work come through those avenues, or is it really mostly marketing in this traditional sense? So these days it's digital marketing.
Yeah, it's typically digital marketing, but I don't know, you've got more understanding of marketing than I do, but I get the sense that it usually happens in three ways for a client. They'll have a presence on social media. They might talk to a real estate agent. Your name's been mentioned. They might be down the beach talking to a friend. Your name gets mentioned. They walk past a site. They see your site sign. It kind of builds, and then usually they'll reach out. So there's it's also, we have a leads document, so we're tracking leads. We're trying to understand where they all come through and get research. We're trying to map out our marketing and where there is a peak in leads, what's happened around that time. And it's often really hard to understand and analyse. We do our best in the marketing team, and you sometimes are just like, it's a little unicorn, and it's go. Then my meditation kicks in, and I'm like, well, what will be will be. I have to sit back and have a knowing that this will all plan out, and I'll be sitting there, and maybe there's a hole in the forecasting, and then in a few days, an email will slip in, and there's that dream client, and then there they are. So I'm currently working on, with my meditation teachers, is that hustle, is that my fight or flight response of trying to drive everything and being really forceful in it, or do I need to sit back and get connected more to my feminine side, which is that intuition, letting things fall into place, trust, know that the universe has kind of got it planned out for me. So I'm battling with that at the moment, because I just want to kick in there and hustle and make those connections and force some things, and then you see that email slip in and you're like, I didn't actually have to do anything for that just all happened.
It was written.
It's the woo-woo and the structure and the practical side. Linda,
can I just say, honestly, I'm processing. My brain needs a minute. Because I'm listening to this story and I see this tussle as well.
Yeah.
Because I think so many things about that moment of your husband's cardiac arrest, sudden cardiac arrest to be specific, was planned. Like it sounds like crazy and weird, but it feels like it was totally planned, right? And here you are trying to, you said something earlier about, you gave the analogy of off camera that you put on a suit of armor, a suit, and you've been in that mode. And maybe now what you're trying to do in this meditation is actually take the suit off.
Yes.
But actually, because it's a mindset shift, isn't it? And so the question is are you working through that mindset shift to know that you don't have to control every single piece of the puzzle and trust that it's all happening for your greatest good and your greatest purpose. I believe that. I have to believe that in life, because otherwise just dig the hole now and I'll like, see you later. I have to believe that everything is happening for our greatest purpose. It's just...
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you really do. I do believe that, but I do have a tussle with it. I do tussle with it. An action-driven woman. And so I have to really lean into that side. But I think what's really helped me from a very early stage in business is values, going back to your business values and your personal values. So Dr. Jodie Lowinger, she's written a great book about the mindset. She was the one that helped me with my trauma. She's also helped me with the business, is really articulating your personal values and your business values. And so when I'm in that tussle between the knowing and the hustle, I'll lean into my values. So what are my values in this moment is that I trust, I have integrity, I believe in creativity, I'm responsible. And so if all of those things are there in the practice and what I'm doing every day, it will come. It will all flow. And integrity is the biggest one because I have the greatest sense of doing the right thing and being highly responsible and honest with my clients. And
deep sense of justice.
Deep sense of justice.
Are your business values and personal values one in the same?
No, they're different because well, they have an overlap for sure, but my personal ones are, they're adventure and they're obviously creativity, which matches with the business. There is love and family. So, they can toss out, go between the two, but there's definitely some personal ones that are not related to the business. And that also helps me because I'm a deeply caring person. So every project we take on, I treat it like my baby. It's like my own house. I have a really deep care for it. Yeah. And my husband also jokes most nights. He's like, it's not your house. Drop it. It's not your house.
I know.
I care so deeply. So then the values help me in that typically when I'm pushing into caring so deeply about things, okay, well, I'm pushing into my personal, have I had enough adventure? Have I had enough nature? Have I done enough for myself? Yeah. Because then I'll have the separation between myself and the business. Yes. Because it's really important that you don't become the business. The business and the practice is separate and you are your own person.
There has to be, I've learned over the years, it's taken me a long time. And I think I have to credit my husband because I've watched him over the years grow in his career. And what I've learned watching him is there does have to be an element of decompartmentalization. So you have to learn, maybe it's armor, but you can't take everything on. You can't take everything personally. There has to be a sense of separation. Absolutely. Otherwise, you can't sustain it long term. It's just, it'll disintegrate. You will disintegrate. So I think that's a really important thing to raise, definitely.
Yeah, so if anyone out there is having that moment in their practice and their growth is maybe try and use some values because my business coach, Prue Chapman's been helping me and she's like—
I've worked with her before.
Oh, she loves you, by the way.
I love her too.
She said as soon as one of those boundaries is getting pushed up, like your boundaries and your values are like kind of sitting around you like a bubble. So they're flexible. They can move, right? And as soon as one of them is getting really nudged, so I had an instance with a client recently where the trust had been destroyed. They did not trust me, right? And so I was like, we just need to part ways. This is one of my greatest values is that all of my clients trust me. And if we don't have a trusting relationship, that's one of my core values. We can't work together, right? So,
and you took that conversation to the client?
In so much of her words, but I have to then, as soon as one of those boundaries or things is being crossed, I then go back to my values and I go, okay, that's what's pushing me right now. And so we're not aligned on that. And so some sort of action has to happen. Yeah. So it's definitely a guiding barometer for me in business is values. And so if someone's struggling with that, flow of themselves and feeling like they are the business and they're having a great impact on them is try and set those values and then have them up on, like I've had them up on a Post-it note at the bottom of my screen and been like, is this pushing one of my values? Yes. Okay. Well, then that is why, rather than being reactive and being emotional about it.
Okay. I have a question. Again, I'm going to come back to the moment in 2020, the incident. Do you think you would have been so clear on these values if that incident didn't happen in your life?
No.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do with my questions is actually see that was the gift.
Absolutely.
Like it was such a gift because
gift.
From what I can see and what I'm hearing is that moment, as horrible and as shit as that experience was for you, it has actually transformed you and it has been this gift that has built you as a human and as this incredible business owner. And so this is why I believe everything happens to us for our highest purpose.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Love that. Yeah. Okay, we're going to get a little bit into the weeds now, business systems.
Yes, let's do it.
Talk to me about your process and structure in terms of how you run a job. What are the tools that you use in your toolkit to really, because there's some real efficiencies there, and I'd love to kind of unpack that for someone who's listening going, because you know what it's like. You're building a business. You're building the car as you drive it half the time.
Yeah.
So your car's built.
I hope so, but I don't think it will ever be fully built.
No, of course
It's
not.
because we have a whip every week with the team, and we have a whoopsies list. And so we all talk about what's happened and what mistakes they've had and how we can all learn from it.
Yeah.
But it's not only just talking about what we've all learned from it, because it's then going, okay, well, which checklist does that move into?
Yeah.
So I'll talk to you about our systems and processes, which I think is the actual foundation and bedrock of the success of CMA. And it happened, and I started to pull it all together whilst I was doing projects. I don't know. I look back and I just don't even know how I did it all. So with every stage, whether it be when we go to a site and we do an existing measure up, we do concept design, DAs, CDCs, construction documentation, going to tender, CCs, you name it, whatever package that is, we have a system, a checklist that all of the team can look at. And like I said, when everything comes up as a whoopsie or something that we learned, we're always going back, and it's really important. Adding it, refining your checklist. And that's something that I have learned from my husband being a pilot, is that the human brain is very quick. If there's an easier way to do something, they'll even move through the checklist, even though they're not doing something, and then go find their go around solution, rather than actually deleting that item and saying, hey, in this session, I do this instead of that, and that's more efficient, right? So we're always working on our checklists, and that allows for everything that we do within the team, and as I grow the team and get more and more staff, that they know how we do things. There's a set of documents that they can refer to saying, this is what we do for a DA set. This is what it looks like. I need to include grid lines. I need to do this. I need to do that.
And this checklist, where does it live? Does it live on Google Drive, or is it something that is it part of like you open up a new project, you set it up in the system? Because I have checklists. I've got a standard operating procedure that, I loosely started to create, but you start it and then you never go back.
Yes.
So tell me, how do you really implement it? Like, how is it being used on the daily basis?
Okay, so we analyse basically every single program that was available in terms of there's Monday, there's forecasting, there's Trello, and we just really couldn't find anything that we needed. So we do a number of things, and sorry if I dart around, but I really will get into the detail. So we use a program called Microsoft Project, and I kind of came up with it that I kind of wanted this Gantt chart. I wanted to see where all the projects were at, what they were working on, how much time it took a team member, whether it's a graduate, project architect or an associate, how long it took them to do that. And then the checklists are quite systematic in how they've done that. So it's in project. Everyone in the team gets assigned. The studio manager goes through. At the beginning of the month, I'll write down what I think the studio manager is doing, and in collaboration, what I think we need to get done for that month. Then we'll plan it out into project, and it's got a certain amount of hours, and you'll be assigned to the DA, and then the drop down within that's got the checklist. So they tick it off. You can see a percentage of how much of the checklist has been done, so that at the end of the month we can bill for that amount and we can check in. But another thing that's really important, because in practice and in all like service-based industries, is our time, right? Yeah.
And we're constantly exchanging time for money.
Time for money.
And so how do we shift from a time for money to a value-based?
Yeah. So I'm really precious about my team burning out. So one thing I hated as a graduate and working in, I dabbled in some bigger practices, which I hated. I was always into residential and smaller practice. But, that slogging of long hours till 10 o'clock at night, like, no, there's an inefficiency there. That's not okay. Yeah. Surely from 9 till 6 p.m. in a day is enough to get some really good quality work done. Yeah. If you're working beyond that, there's a bit of a problem. And so that's what I always say to my team. I don't want you staying late. If you're staying late, there's a problem in our efficiency and we need to nip that and deal with that. So we'll plan out the whole month and look at the whole team and how many hours they have for that month. We work on an 80% efficiency marker. And so we can see, okay, well, Rosie's over on her hours. Somebody's low on their hours. Let's shift that and get resourcing and make sure everyone's hours are within the bracket that they're comfortable with. And then every week, so week one's a check-in. Okay, this is your deadlines for the month. Are you okay? Are you committed to this? Yeah, good to go. By the second week, we do another check-in with the team. Are you okay? Some hands go up. No, I'm feeling overloaded. I've got heaps of contract admin. There's lots of problems on site. I'm not going to be able to achieve that deadline. I give it to the team as though by week 2, I need hands going up because by week 3, we're middle of the month. And if we've got problems, then I can't invoice at the end of the month. Yeah. And so by the 3rd week, that's really just a check-in. We're all good to go. And then the 4th week is, okay, you have achieved all the deadlines that we've talked about. Which means tick, 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 and I can invoice. And we can.
Do you do the invoicing or does the studio manager?
The studio manager does it, but I did it for a long time.
Yeah. Well, you built the system, right?
I have all the hats. I think that's something as well that's really key to a successful practice that a few of my team members have talked to me about is that I can even get into Revit and I can model and I can document. So they have a great level of respect for me in when I'm saying, oh, that flashing, you've drawn that in 2D, I want that model in 3D. And they were like, some resistance, no, that's all. I'm like, you can do it here, move over, let me sit down and I'll get in there and show them how it's done. I think there's, you can, as you grow in a practice and you get bigger and there's lots of roles and different people coming in, I think you need to, as the director and the creative director, show your ability to get into your business and know how to do every section of it. I'm sure when I'm 70 and still practicing, I won't probably be as fast and as well equipped in equipment.
Oh, by then there'll be some AI that's taking over the world for us anyway and able to do some of these technical things, I'm sure. But
I think, you can't lose too much connection from the business. You really need to stay quite close to it. Hiring too many external parties and they're not actually doing anything, I think can be problematic in business.
How do you, can we unpack the challenge of that juggle because you're straddling being the business person but also still driving the creative. So in practice, in day-to-day, how do you do that? Because that's hard. I know it's hard for me sometimes. So what does that look like?
I think what I've learned is hiring the very best. And if you know that person that you've delegated to are kind of dropping the ball, I think you need somebody else. You really need the best people at their job. So I always look at Steve Jobs, who always said that he wanted to be the less smart person in the room. He wanted to be surrounded by the
best of the best.
The best of the best and to really feel like he was the one. So that is something that I'm trying to get to. And it's, declaring very early if there's a consultant and marketing, HR, coaching that's not quite working for you. You have to pivot very quickly and make sure you've got the best person in your team. And then being able to just have more of an oversight of those items, and having a second in charge has been a really important shift for me to take a lot of that actual heavy lifting of the doing and being able to just review and check and look up and out rather than down and into the business.
Into the detail. Yeah. At what point in the business did you decide to bring on that 2IC, the second in charge?
I tried it very early on with like just a studio manager that had some administration experience, but it didn't really work because they weren't an architect. So they really needed to understand what a DA was. Like they need to be able to have done the job and almost sit and walk around with the team and really engage with them about what they're doing, how long that's taking, what are the problems, and really nut it out.
Yeah.
So it was only recently that I got Ophelia, who's been with me for a long time. She's an architect. She's just coming back from maternity leave. So it really works for her to kind of be part-time and not have the pressure of a really big job to be on site and demanding, but she's still very much involved. So that's only been recently that I've tried to implement that. So it's still very much a work in progress, but I need to get out of the weeds.
Yeah.
You need to look up and out and be creative and have the space in the business.
Yeah. Otherwise you become the business owns you.
Yeah.
Like you become an employee in the business instead of actually being the boss.
Yeah.
And not in an egotistical way, but you can't be creative. You can't grow something if you're bogged down with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So some other things in terms, so we have obviously the project and the forecasting document, and we're very strict on that, and the whole team has all of that available to them. I'm very open with the team, and I say this a lot. Like if you're not meeting deadlines or you've slipped up, please put your hand up earlier. It's really good communication with your team and making sure that they're in a safe environment, that there's never any hostility, there's care, and we've got each other's back and supporting each other. We're a small team. So, being able to deal with things that pop up as a practice earlier than later and not hiding things. And I've never had that in practice because I think I've always built a really good relationship with my team, that they feel safe enough to come to me when they've made a mistake or something slipped. But I think that's a really important culture piece that you need to work on too.
Yeah,
culture is really important. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a daily practice, isn't it?
Yeah. And so lots of other things. So I've also implemented in terms of documentation, like 30%, 60%, 90%. So not letting the team get too far in documentation and really checking in, mentoring, sketching, reviewing at more micro levels. Because particularly if it goes to a younger graduate, they can get quite lost in the documentation and need more guidance. And equally as well with senior architects, sometimes they'll just want to sit down and chat and work through some of their thoughts and the details with myself or like a team, an equal team member. So you kind of need to have that breakdown of deadlines because there's a lot of work and you need to get through it quite systematically. So we've done that. What else have we done? I've kind of written all the office manuals and stuff, but I agree. You need to be really careful because you can write these things and do these things and then you don't use them.
And then you don't use them, absolutely. Yeah. So it's like, how do you weave them into the daily practice? And I a few years ago when I was first setting up myself, I used to use Monday, and I built this whole, it was Asana actually. I looked at Monday and ended up using Asana. So I had all these workarounds and built the whole process through Asana. But then I moved to Programmer and it didn't have that functionality. Yeah. So I went to a manual process, and then you kind of go, things just fall by the wayside. So I love that you've actually integrated it into the WIP, into the practice of delivering each project, each stage. Yeah. I think that's critical.
And checklists, so that
checklists.
I think some team members can get quite lost in the workload and they can keep going back to, it's essentially a list, a to-do list, Carla's to-do list at every stage, right? It's like, don't forget about this, check the sewer, do this, do that. Absolutely. So it's highly practical.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to leadership and people, because you're growing a team now. How many team members do you have now?
We have 7.
7. I mean, it's amazing. I remember speaking to an architect years ago, and I remember him saying the sweet spot is 6 people, 6 architects. That was his sweet spot. And I didn't know what that meant back there. It was like 10 years ago. Yeah. But now I understand that. Do you have a sweet spot in terms of where you think that perfect number of team members, number of projects to get good profitability, good turnover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I've always had good profitability and good turnover. And I think that always comes down to me looking at the numbers and all the percentages in terms of what's going out, what's coming in, what your profit margin is. If you're not making a profit, then you've got some problems and you need to either look at your fees, look at your what you're paying everyone. Like you need to address it very early on. So I can't say I haven't been bigger than 7, but every stage of the way we have been profitable. The one biggest learning is that, and it only comes as you're growing and as you can afford it, is I hired junior staff to begin with. And I had to make that shift after a few years and just hire really professional, experienced, senior people. And that had a big shift in the practice. People kept kind of tap, 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 tell, like telling me that you've got to get away from the graduates. But there was part of me that A, couldn't afford it. And then B, as well, hadn't ever experienced anything different. Right, because you're just learning. So I just thought that was the way it was, that you had to do all the markups and then you experience. I remember when that first amazing project architect started and I was like, wow,
this is what life looks like.
They can actually do their job and I don't need to hold hand, hustle them and push them and manage them. Like they got autonomy. It's just a big relief.
What a lovely feeling.
Yeah. And I love mentoring. Like I'm just a very nurturing person. So I love seeing growth and the graduates learn. So by all means, it doesn't mean we don't hire graduates, but we've got more structure now that the training of the graduates comes from a more senior architect and they have the time and capability to train them rather than actually coming directly from me, which is just an energy drain.
Absolutely. Yeah. Energy drain and time drain. So when a new project comes in, how does it work? Does the client always get you, or do they get you initially and then you build a team for that particular project? And how many touch points do they have with you? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main aspects of my practice that I am quite proud of, is that I'm present at all stages of the project. The degree in which I'm present really varies based on the client and the client needs. So we resource it in a way that if the client wants me to attend every site meeting, I'm available. But they tend to build a relationship with my associates and know at certain touch points that I'm there and I'm in the background and I'll be at a meeting and I'll be like, yes, I know you've had that conversation about that fridge or that handle. I'm aware of it. So they know as a team we're talking about it all. As the practice grows, I do question how much of a thread I'll be able to give to every client. But with my meditation practice and all that I do, it's working brilliantly, and I'm in touch with every client, and I haven't had any sense that a client needs more. I think maybe I'm quite intuitive too, is that I'll pull back when I know that they're feeling comfortable and everything's moving along, and then I'll show up, particularly on site, if they need just a little bit of some Carla magic and sprinkle over it, and then they just need that lift. And just to know that I'm there in the background across everything.
And you are across everything.
Yeah.
You can
So, it's very
because
client
I do think
dependent.
Sometimes it's very easy to get drawn into growing something and then becoming quite disconnected. That's a fine balance. And even I've found that challenging at times, where I've thought, I've made it very clear, expectations are set, but then I've thought within myself, have I pulled away too much from that, and should I sprinkle some Linda magic, and I'm not doing. So, it's just that tussle, isn't it? And it's learning how to do that.
And I think it goes back to my team. Like my team will come on.
Oh, yeah.
They need to be reading that too. I think that client needs you to come to this meeting, or they'll be like, no, everything's going smoothly. They're happy. They don't need your attention. So, it is a tussle that you need to kind of be quite flexible with, and make yourself available too. Like that's as well what I've learnt, is that because when I was graduates and I was in on every project, I didn't have the energy to be able to tend to something, because as you get more senior and as being the creative director, when I do have to step in, I'm stepping into usually big problems or something that really needs a higher level of expertise to solve a problem. So if you don't have capacity in your load and you're just too burnt out, you won't be able to tend to it. So you kind of got to give yourself space in your life to be ready for something to pop up so you can tend to it really well and really efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What are the 3 biggest takeaways, if you could give advice for someone listening to this around growing their business, their practice, building it? Like, what are the 3 massive takeaways? We've talked about a lot of things, but if you could summarize your top 3 things.
So hire the most experienced team of experts that you can afford as you grow. So the best accountant to begin with, the best business coach, the best HR specialist, the best marketing as you grow is invest in that, because you cannot do everything. And if clients are coming to us as experts in architecture, why don't we also engage other experts in their field for their expertise, and to not try and do it all. The second would be to look at your values, work on your values as a business and as a person and as a leader. Really live by your values, and every time a boundary is being crossed, kind of refresh on your values. And the third one would be to stay really curious. I'm really curious. I don't feel like I've got it all sorted. I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm always reading books. I'm always signing up next to somebody that is amazing in their field and asking them how they do things. I think somebody said to me once, those that are really successful in business that look at others that are successful either have 2 options. They can be really jealous and be really hostile around them, or they can look at them and go up to them and compliment them and see what they can learn. And I think I always opt for the second, because I just admire everyone.
Babes, we're on the same page there. I love that. That's why I'm doing this podcast.
I'm like, there is just nothing more inspiring than meeting someone and getting to know someone's brain and being like, how did you do that? And people love it.
And they love to share. Everyone has a story. People want to talk. They want, in my experience, if you ask someone genuinely about how they created or how they did something, they actually want to share.
Yeah.
They do. Well, at least that's the people I've been speaking to. They're so open.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
love that.
They're my top 3.
All right. We're getting close to the end of our beautiful conversation. I want to ask you this. What would you tell someone right now who's going through their own dark season, trying to survive and still create something meaningful?
I think go slow. Slow down. Slowing down doesn't mean it's a weakness, doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that you're giving yourself time and space to recover, process, understand, and then take action. It's a bit like my meditation. Tim Brown teacher taught me about meditation, with a bow and arrow when you play archery. Why do we go, when we're trying to catapult as fast and as hard forward, do we go backwards? We're going backwards to be able to go forward. So we're going backwards to restore, get speed, and then catapult forwards. It's a bit like that. If you're going through something, pull back, slow down, restore, build yourself back up again. And by all means, you will shoot forward with 100 times more energy and clarity and intention and integrity than you did trying to swim in it and trying to do it all.
We can just end there. What's something you're proud of now that younger Carla wouldn't have believed was possible?
Being financially responsible for my family. I think women get a bit icky about talking about money and that we earn money and that we like to earn money. And I was told, like you recall, that at university architects don't make any money, and I have just smashed that, like it's not true. Women in architecture can make good money, and you can look after your family, and you can have a career that's really rewarding, that fulfills all the creativity, but you can run a business that's highly successful.
Religion. And our final...
Is that too crude though?
That sounds so good. It's so good. Our final signature question that we ask everyone for the podcast: what does build beautiful mean to you?
Build beautiful means to me is starting from really strong foundations. So the foundations for me to build beautifully are obviously starting with integrity, leading my team and myself with values, and really just protecting my own energy and my own self around those foundations so that something really beautiful can grow.
That's just perfect. Carla, I can't thank you enough. This has been special. I've had a lot of conversations now, but this one really special.
Oh, well, like I said at the beginning, I don't, our story is emotional, and there's a lot there, and there's nothing that I am more proud of is to share it, and there's nothing that we need to be pity of or think about it. And I would like to end on the fact that I've just turned 40 and I've achieved so much. I am really proud of myself. I have signature birthdays, you can kind of reflect on it. But amongst all of my achievements, saving a life, let alone my husband's life, let alone my children's father, is my greatest achievement in life.
You're magic. Carla magic. Thank you. I hope that you feel this conversation has done justice for
I hope so.
The beautiful story, the inspiring. It's, for me, it's moving, it's heartache, it's heart-wrenching but beautiful all at the same time, and I'm just so honoured and grateful.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.